I think it's silly. Scottie Scheffler said those 4 words at the podium. Nobody knew it then, but that was the first shot in a rebellion. This is the world's #1 player, a man who spent 8 months stacking up wins and points. He did not walk into Memphis to celebrate. He walked in to bury the system. Because here is the brutal truth. The regular season dominance everyone talks about, it does not carry over to the final tournament. All that grinding, all those victories, they disappear in a single rule change that treats an 8-month marathon like a casual weekend round. Scheffler did not just complain. He called it out by name. He exposed a flaw hiding in plain sight for years. But this is not some frustrated journeyman throwing a tantrum. This is the undisputed king of golf, standing at the podium and telling the entire world the system is unfair. The full story of his rebellion goes far beyond one press conference. It involves a math equation that disrespects excellence, a ghost from the past that refuses to stay buried, and a 30-year-old champion who is refusing to stay quiet. Think about what it takes to reach that level. Scheffler did not wake up one day as the best player in the world. He built it, day after day, week after week, month after month. He outworked everyone, he outplayed everyone, and he has the trophies to prove it. But none of that matters to the rulebook. None of that matters when the calendar flips to August. All that matters is one tournament, one course, 1 week, and that is the injustice that drove him to speak out. Was Scheffler right to call out the tour, or should he just play the game? Drop your take in the comments. If you want the real breakdown of what is happening behind closed doors, hit subscribe. Now, let us get into it. To understand why Scheffler is this furious, you have to look at the calendar. The FedExCup Playoffs are 3 events: St. Jude in Memphis, BMW in St. Louis, the Tour Championship in Atlanta. The first 2 events still reward points. Winners get 750 points, same as a major, same as the players. But then comes the 3rd event, East Lake, and this is where the entire season gets thrown into uncertainty. Scheffler laid it out bluntly. You cannot call it a season-long race and have it come down to one tournament. His point is simple. A man who dominates for 30 weeks should not be on equal footing with a man who barely squeaked in. He is not naive. He knows the tour has to sell a product. He knows close finishes generate hype, but he also knows the difference between entertainment and fairness. And right now, he believes the tour is sacrificing the latter to guarantee the former. Think about what that means for a player like Scheffler. He does not just show up and play, he prepares. He studies, he grinds every single day. His entire life is structured around being the best, and he has been the best, by every measurable standard. But the tour is telling him that his preparation does not matter, his grinding does not matter, his 8 months of dominance does not matter. All that matters is what happens in 1 week. That is a dangerous message to send, not just to Scheffler, to every player on tour. Why would anyone push themselves to the limit for 30 weeks if the reward is the same as someone who cruised through the season and got hot at the right time? The players are not stupid. They see the math. They see the system. They know that the regular season is essentially a qualifying round for a 3-event lottery, and that is not what they signed up for. Scheffler is the first player of his stature to say it out loud. But he is not the only one thinking it. The locker room is buzzing. The whispers have been there for years. Scheffler just turned them into a roar. But here is the thing most people still get wrong. Scheffler is not just fighting today's rule. He is fighting a rule that has already cost him personally. What happened in 2023 and 2024 is the real reason his fuse is so short. And those 2 failures are exactly why he stood up in Memphis and refused to stay silent. Let us rewind to 2023. Scheffler entered the Tour Championship as the points leader. He had done everything right all season. The wins, the consistency, the dominance that made everyone else look like they were playing a different sport. And then Viktor Hovland happened. Hovland caught him, passed him, took the trophy right out of his hands. Scheffler walked off that course with nothing but a bitter taste and a quiet realization. The feeling was not just disappointment, it was confusion. How could a season that good end like that? How could a player who dominated for so long have nothing to show for it at the end? That question has haunted him ever since. Scheffler walked off that course with a quiet realization. The system did not care about his 8 months of excellence. It only cared about 1 week in Atlanta. 12 months later, 2024. Same scenario. Scheffler arrives at East Lake as the points leader again. This time, he actually wins the tournament. He beats the field. He plays the best golf of anyone that week. But here is the twist. Rory McIlroy still took the FedEx Cup because the format did not reward the winner of the final event. It rewarded whoever had the best combined performance under a completely different set of rules. Scheffler won the battle and still lost the war. That is the part that stings the most. He did everything right. He played the best golf. He won the tournament, and he still walked away without the trophy that mattered most. He admitted it himself. He said the format leaves a bad taste in your mouth, especially when you start with the lead. Those are the words of a man who has been burned twice. Now fast forward to 2026. Scheffler is 30 years old. He is in his prime, and this might be his most dominant season yet. He won 6 times this year. Masters, Players' Championship, 4 signature events. He also took gold at the Paris Olympics. 7 victories in total. 7 times he stood on a podium and proved he was the best in the world. But here is the number that really matters. 16 starts, 15 top 25 finishes. The only time he finished outside the top 25 was a week where he literally could not swing the club properly. That is not consistency. That is a masterclass. That is the kind of season that should guarantee a FedEx Cup title before the playoffs even start. But it does not, because the reset does not care about any of that. And the man who has been hurt by this rule twice is about to explain exactly why. Now let us talk about the ghosts, the history that proves Scheffler is not alone in this fight. 17 years ago, Tiger Woods sat in a similar position. He looked at the playoff format and realized something deeply broken. He could win every single playoff event and still lose the FedEx Cup. He said it was different. There was no doubt. But privately, he was furious. Tiger understood the math. He understood that the tour was prioritizing television ratings over competitive integrity, and he knew that nothing would change because the tour had already made up its mind. The tour learned nothing from Tiger. They built a system that creates drama at the expense of fairness. And now, 17 years later, the best player in the world is saying the same thing Tiger said. The only difference is that Scheffler is saying it louder. Tiger was diplomatic. He chose his words carefully. He understood that he was the face of the tour and that he had to be careful about what he said in public. But Scheffler does not have that restraint. He is not worried about protecting the tour's reputation. He is worried about protecting the integrity of the game. Tiger understood the math 17 years ago. Scheffler is standing on the same ground today, and the math is about to get very specific. Here is the brutal reality of the 2026 playoff format. Under the current rules, every single player who makes it to the Tour Championship has their points reset to 0. Not reduced, not adjusted, erased completely. Everyone starts at even par. The guy who grinded for 8 months and built a massive lead starts on the exact same number as the guy who squeaked in at number 30. Scheffler accumulated 4,123 points during the regular season. The second-place player, Xander Schauffele, had 3,329. That is a 794-point gap. To put that in perspective, a tournament win is worth 750 points. Scheffler built an entire tournament victory worth of separation between himself and the rest of the field, and that gap means absolutely nothing once the Tour Championship starts. That is not a championship. That is a lottery dressed up in a polo shirt. Think about the absurdity of that number. 4,123 points. That is not just a lead. That is a statement. That is Scheffler telling the rest of the world that he is playing a different game than everyone else. He is so far ahead that it is almost embarrassing for the competition. But the tour does not care. They have a product to sell. They have a final event to hype. They have television executives who demand a close finish, and they are willing to sacrifice the integrity of the competition to get it. Scheffler is not just pointing out a flaw, he is exposing a fundamental contradiction. The tour claims to crown the best player of the year, but the format does not reward the best player of the year. It rewards the best player of 1 week. The regular season becomes a qualifying round. The first two playoffs become a second qualifying round. And then the final tournament becomes the only thing that actually matters. That is not a playoff system. That is a single elimination tournament with extra steps. And Scheffler is saying that is not good enough. He is saying the tour needs to do better. He is saying the players deserve better. And he is saying it loud enough that the entire world can hear him. That is the system Scheffler is fighting. A system where a player can do nothing for 8 months, show up for 2 weeks, and steal a championship from the guy who carried the sport all season long. Fast forward to 2014. Billy Horschel became the poster child for everything wrong with this system. Horschel did not win a single event during the regular season. 0 wins. He was a good player, but he was not great. Then the playoffs started. He got hot, really hot. He won the last 2 events and walked away with the FedEx Cup. Meanwhile, Rory McIlroy had dominated the entire year. Multiple wins, multiple majors. He was the best player on the planet by a mile. But he finished second in the FedEx Cup because Horschel got lucky in the right 2 weeks. That is not a system designed to find the best player. That is a system designed to create drama. And the players know it. They have known it for years. But nobody had the courage to say it out loud. Until now. Scheffler is not exaggerating. He is not being dramatic. He is pointing at a broken rule and stating the obvious. The Horschel example is the most damning piece of evidence against the reset. Here is a player who did nothing all season. Nothing. He was not even in the conversation for Player of the Year. But he got hot at the right time and walked away with the trophy. And Rory McIlroy, the best player on the planet, walked away with nothing. A guy who won multiple majors. A guy who dominated the entire year. He finished second to a guy who could not win a single regular season event. That is not a championship. That is a farce. And the tour has the audacity to call it a season-long race. Scheffler is not the only one speaking up. Other players have started voicing the same frustration, and they are not holding back. Jon Rahm called the format a crapshoot in recent interviews. He said the regular season feels meaningless when you know it can all disappear in one tournament. He has been vocal about the need for change. Rahm specifically pointed out that the tour is prioritizing casual fans over the players who actually carry the sport week in and week out. Rahm is not someone who complains lightly. He is a major champion. He has been the best player in the world at times. And he is saying the same thing Scheffler is saying, that the system is broken, that the tour is disrespecting the players who actually make the sport worth watching. Rahm's frustration is rooted in the same reality. He knows what it feels like to dominate and have nothing to show for it. He knows what it feels like to be the best player in the field and lose because the rules are designed for someone else to win. When Rahm speaks, people pay attention. He has won majors. He has been the #1 player in the world. He knows what it takes to get to the top, and he is telling the world that the system is rigged against the players who work the hardest. Patrick Cantlay expressed similar frustration. Cantlay, notably quiet usually, expressed to reporters that the tour's priority is clearly the TV window, not the leaderboard. He said the tour is sending the wrong message. Why grind for 30 weeks if the final event resets everything? Why push yourself to the limit when a single bad week can erase all of it? Cantlay's words carry weight. He is one of the most respected players in the locker room. He does not speak often. But when he does, people listen. And he is saying exactly what Scheffler is saying, that the system is unfair, that the tour is prioritizing spectacle over substance. Cantlay has always been measured in his public comments. He does not get involved in controversies. He keeps his head down and plays golf. But even he could not stay silent on this issue. That tells you how serious it is. Even players who have benefited from the format admit it is flawed. They know the system is designed for drama, not fairness. They know the tour is selling a product, not crowning a deserving champion. Collin Morikawa has also expressed reservations. He said the tour needs to find a better balance between entertainment and integrity. He pointed out that the regular season is a grind. It takes a toll on the players, and when the tour erases all that work, it sends a message that the grind does not matter. Morikawa is another major champion, another player who has been at the top, and he is saying the same thing as Scheffler, Rahm, and Cantlay. The system is broken, and it has been broken for a long time. Morikawa knows the grind better than most. He has been through the highs and lows. He knows what it takes to compete at the highest level, and he is telling the tour that they are getting it wrong. Now let us talk about the fans, the people who actually pay to watch these events, the people who buy the merchandise, the people who tune in every week to see the best players in the world compete. The fans are not stupid either. They see the same thing the players see. They see a player like Scheffler dominate for months and then get punished for it. They see a system that rewards luck over skill, and they are starting to get frustrated too. The tour is banking on casual fans who only watch the playoffs. But they are alienating the hardcore fans who watch every week, the fans who know the difference between a deserving champion and a lucky winner. That is the real danger for the tour. They are so focused on creating drama that they are losing the trust of their most loyal fans. And once that trust is gone, it is very hard to get it back. Consider what happens when a die-hard fan watches their favorite player dominate all season. They invest emotionally. They watch every shot. They celebrate every win. And then they watch that player get robbed by a rule that was never designed for fairness. That fan does not forget. That fan tells their friends. That fan stops watching as much. And that is how the tour loses its most valuable audience. The fans know the difference between a real champion and a manufactured one. They know when the system is rigged. And they know when the tour is treating them like they are stupid. That is not a winning strategy. But Scheffler is the one who put his reputation on the line. He is the one who stood in front of the cameras and said what everyone else was thinking. He is the one who refused to stay quiet. Now, the 2026 playoffs are already underway. St. Jude Championship started on August 13th. Scheffler is the heavy favorite. He is playing some of the best golf of his career. The field knows he is the man to beat. But here is the nightmare scenario that keeps tour executives up at night. Scheffler wins St. Jude. He wins BMW. He arrives at East Lake as the undisputed king of the 2026 season. The media is hyping him. The fans are expecting him to finally claim what is his. And then something goes wrong. A bad bounce. A cold putter. An injury that flares up at the worst possible moment. Just like he warned everyone about. Just like he said could happen. Suddenly, the man who dominated for 30 weeks finishes 30th in the FedEx Cup. Not because he was not good enough, but because the rules decided that the final tournament was the only one that mattered. That scenario is not a conspiracy theory. It is a mathematical possibility, and Scheffler is the one who put it out there for everyone to see. He said it himself. Hypothetically, we get to East Lake and his neck flares up. He has to withdraw. He finishes 30th. Is that really the season-long race? No. It is what it is. That phrase, it is what it is. It sounds like acceptance, but if you listen closely, it sounds like resignation. It sounds like a man who knows the system will not change. A man who has accepted that he will keep getting hurt by it until someone finally listens. The tour is in a difficult position. They need ratings. They need dramatic finishes. They need casual fans to care about the final event. But they also need the best player of the season to feel like his efforts matter. Right now, Scheffler is telling them those two things cannot coexist. And he is using his platform to force the conversation. The locker room is watching, the sponsors are watching, and most importantly, the fans are watching. If Scheffler gets burned again this year, the backlash will be enormous. The tour will have no choice but to revisit the rule. And if they do not, they risk alienating the best player of his generation. Scheffler is not just fighting for himself. He is fighting for every player who has ever dominated a season and walked away empty-handed. He is fighting for Tiger Woods. He is fighting for Rory McIlroy. He is fighting for the integrity of the game itself. That is why this story matters. That is why his rebellion is different from all the others. He is not angry because he lost. He is angry because the loss was designed into the system. He is angry because no matter how well he plays, the deck is stacked against him. Every storyline that came out of that press conference follows directly into Atlanta. The math, the history, the anger, the ghosts of Tiger and Horschel. Nothing is resolved. Everything is escalating. Drop a Scheffler in the comments if you think he is absolutely right to burn the tour over this. Drop a rules if you think the reset is fair, because everybody starts even. Which side are you on? If real, unfiltered golf coverage matters to you, subscribe. We cover all of it. Next video, the dark truth behind why the tour refuses to fix this rule, even after all these years.